Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's comes at us from Dreadnought, Within Chanting Waters. Some pretty unique prog metal that blends a lot of influences and genres. We just checked out Dreadnought at the tail end of last week. I don't remember what day it was, and I was kind of blown away by them. I also saw a live video where the keyboardist did backup vocals, the lead guitarist, who was also the lead vocalist, played flute, and the drummer one-handed a saxophone while his two legs and other hand continued to lay down groove. I don't know, there's too many rhythms going on, too many muscle groups working in opposition. I don't know. I could never do it. Blew my mind. So I'm really interested to get back into Dreadnought, and I think it's really interesting again that two selections have come in back to back like this. So without further ado, let's dive in to Dreadnought's Within Chanting Waters. We have a decent speed 6/8 right here. You can also feel it as a slower 4. Really interesting to have this long held out vocal stuff on top of all this movement. There's so much forward momentum and energy, and the vocals just effortlessly sit on top of all of the noise. Really fat bass tone down there too. There is a lot going on. Yeah. Love that piano line. Okay. bass is consistently doing something unique. Oh, I forgot they had harsh vocals. There's so many different rhythmic ideas in any of these sections, and I think that's what makes it the most chaotic. There's some busy cymbals. Everything relaxed, and the drummer's like hitting all the cymbals. We're not gonna fully reach any sort of laid back component. Joking aside though, I really love, there's so much dynamic variety in the cymbal lines. Even in that ride cymbal roll, there's like 4 or 5 different textures based on velocity and where on the cymbal he's hitting. For some reason, the serenity of this section mixed with the pedal tone in the backgrounds, like the drone, and the overall vibe makes me think of being underwater. This kind of reminds me of the song I just mentioned that I watched a live video of this weekend. I wonder if this actually was the song. The audio wasn't great on it, but this section sounds very familiar. Oh, those little ghost rolls on the snare. Like, the section as a whole is really gorgeous, but I can't keep my jaw off the ground listening to the drum patterns, knowing he's also playing a saxophone at the same time. Just a gnarly, muddy bass kick. Lots of tension, dissonance, and bass is off on their own again. You know, it just dawned on me, a band like Dreadnought, I kind of assumed doom metal. Yeah, I like the harmony. The retardandos are a nice touch. If anyone was just curious, we're at a tempo of 32 BPM. It takes 2 seconds to get a downbeat. It's actually really gorgeous. Ah, nice touch. Yeah, a lot of resolution, positivity to end this song out. If anyone was curious once again about the tempo, we actually ended the song at 28. I think that is slower than the slowest doom metal band we checked out on Doom Week. Was that Ahab? I don't know if that's right. Um, yeah, I think this is the slowest song we've heard on the channel to date. Granted, it's only one portion of it, but they were mostly in time too. I mean, it's one of the benefits, I think. There's still a lot of modern Doom bands who play without click tracks, purposefully to have that lack of specificity to time. But I think for a band like this who dipped into Doom but is overall a bit proggier, the perfection of it is something that they would rather aim for, and I appreciate that. Muddy playing can have an artistic effect, but casually it's not something I tend to enjoy listening to, and I liked this. It had the Doom feeling, but everyone was in time on the beat. It just really worked for my ears quite a bit better. That still blows my mind though. I thought we were done at like, what did I say, 32? Maybe we dipped down to, was it 30 exact? And then we dropped it down just a little bit more. And yeah, just, for your record, 30 beats per minute means that we only get a beat every 2 seconds. It's really interesting coming off of Pink Floyd's Time just earlier at 60 beats per second, which felt fine. The song had movement to it, and we get down this slow, and it just feels like, when's the beat coming? when's the beat coming? And it's really not that big of a difference. I mean, we're cutting the tempo in half, but we're still only talking 30-ish beats per minute. It can have a massive effect at these slower speeds, though. Um, so yeah, about the song. This is a claustrophobic track. Pretty much in every section of the song, specifically in the first half of the track, there is a ton going on. We have the guitar, the bass, sometimes one, sometimes two vocals. We also have the keyboardist, which isn't always playing something that sounds like a piano. It plays a couple of different tones throughout here. We also have the drums, and I think at the beginning there was some sort of pedal tone in the background. I don't know. Actually, I guess it'd be the keyboardist. I don't remember how many keyboards they had, but you can definitely create more than one tone if you have the right hardware for it. Just, one hand you've got your pedal tone over here, and your other hand you're doing your melody or ornamental stuff or whatever. Um, But yeah, the thing is that we have all this instrumentation and they're all doing different things. All of them. It is a lot going on, and most of it works together. If you listen to the drums, which are polyrhythmic in most sections, usually half of the polyrhythm is working with one or two of the instruments, and the other polyrhythm is working with the other instruments. And so we kind of just have these two sounds that are clashing, but for the most part working together. They're filling in each other's uh, empty spots, right? Gaps. But the bass does not care. The bass is frequently on its own doing a third thing that is rhythmically juxtaposed to the other two and really making things muddy. It's what adds that chaotic element to it. We have heard plenty of bands that split the band in two or even three. We've heard really interesting um, three-way counterpoint. We've heard crazy polyrhythmic ideas. We've heard wild layering in the past. Just because you have a lot of ideas doesn't mean things are going to get difficult to listen to, but it does here, and it's primarily because the bass pushes against the other two sounds so much. I don't remember having this topic come up during our last look at Dreadnought last week, but that was also a very different song. That was like 4 minutes of beautiful layered acoustic folk and then like 3 minutes of metal. I think something like that. I remember it being split up a bit more. And this one was pretty much all metal. And they layered in with that same type of acoustic layering we heard, but with distorted instruments, which have wider sounds. So I don't know if this was an inexperienced thing or purposeful. Maybe the beginning feeling very full, too full, and having rhythmic chaos is the intent of it. I'm not quite sure, but given that the other track I think came before this one, I don't want to chalk it up to inexperience because they released it. And I don't think this was their first. Yeah, this was their second album. Oh, what we listened to last time was off their newest, so there was a bit more experience there. Hmm. Well, I don't like to guess. Oh, wait. No, was it? Oh, no, it was their debut song. The first song off their first album is what we listened to last time. It's called Ode to Ether. So this came after that. So yeah, so they had a little bit of experience going into this. I'm gonna wager it's intentional. For whatever reason, they wanted this song to feel very dense and difficult to parse. And a lot of it, like I said, comes down to what the bass is doing. Now, what the bass is doing in a vacuum is fine. It's some very cool bass lines. It has some really cool lead elements. The bass has prominence in the mix. Everything I tend to praise with the bass. It just happens in a space where there isn't room for the bass to be doing any of this. And at least to me, I would be listening to something, guitar, okay, that's nice. Vocals are cool. All right, we got the bass. I mean, we got the keyboard over there, the drums are doing this thing. Okay, that's lining up with the bass, this is lining up with the guitar. Okay, so they're doing two different things, but they kind of work together, they're gelling. And like, what's the bass doing? And then the bass is just off in another zone, doing a third section that just isn't matching what the other two are doing. There's no more gaps to fill in. It can't seamlessly integrate itself with the others without feeling uh, chaotic, like it's stepping on their toes. And it's a very interesting sound. We don't hear it too much in the latter half of the track, but it's present easily in the first 6, 7 minutes. Um, and when we brought the harshes back at the end, you can hear it in there too. So I don't want to focus on that too much. It is a bit of a negative to my ears, but I think it was intentional, and maybe when we hit the lyrics, it'll all make sense. Everybody else, though, we have some really gnarly guitar riffs. We have the nice piano lines. The drums are just polyrhythmic all over the place. So many neat ideas just on individual limbs, but when you hear them together, it is just a smorgasbord of awesome sounds. I really appreciate that. I enjoy the dual vocals too. The two vocalists, their voices sound kind of similar to each other. I think they complement each other very well. Um, there's a bit of a rounder darkness in the second. I don't know if that's just because one utilizes more of a head voice while the other one's more of a mixed. One is certainly more ethereal than the other. It's more airy. Um, but I do love when they come together, like at the end there, in the final minute or so, when we got to hear the two vocalists harmonizing. It just sounds gorgeous. And the black metal vocalist, the black metal vocals from our lead vocalist is they're black metal vocals. I don't mind them in this context. I don't know if it's how much they're present. You know, one thing I talk about with black metal is a lot of it is consistency. The sound you get at the first minute of a black metal song is the same sound you're going to get at the 10-minute mark. Not much really changes in black metal, but with this, the black metal harsh is an aesthetic for specific situations, and it typically amplifies those situations in a way that even if I begin to get tired of it, they've typically moved on from. It is a spice, not the core ingredient, and I think that changes my entire relationship to that sound because primarily I've heard it in black metal bands who utilize it as the primary and mostly only vocal technique. And so it works well in here, but there's also a lot of variety to it as well, in that she has a range I feel that is more comfortable. It feels very mellow, right? And where like almost like speaking voice with a lot of rasp or speaking tone, because I'm pretty sure it's all false chord stuff. So it just feels comfortable to be there. But then later on, we heard these shrieks, these shrill harshes almost. And they almost went on to be like a DSBM style of vocal. There's a lot of desperation to them. And honestly, if I heard a whole song like that, nope. But I heard two notes like that, and to me, it was a high point of the track. You know, people talk about listening to those vocals because they can really connect with them. And like, I totally get that. But to me, it has to be like this. I really connect with that moment because it's delivered that way. But I don't really connect with that vocal delivery. It just elevates the moment. Um, so, you know, we have a lot of stuff going on with the vocal concept entirely, just adding a lot of extra sounds to the band. You know, it's already a pretty big band on instrumentation, but then we also have all these vocal styles that fit on top of it. And all of this is ignoring the elephant in the room. This is more than a rock band. We have a flute and a saxophone in here. The flute is played by our lead vocalist and guitarist. Um, in the video I saw, being that flute is a two-handed instrument, stop strumming the guitar to play it, and I'm pretty sure that's what I heard in here too, but the drummer continued to play, and I heard both footwork, hi-hat up and down, lots of snare and tom and cymbal work, and bass kick. So right hand, both legs, that only leaves one hand left for the sax, which is exactly what I saw in the live video. I loved this moment. It is very much slow burn, trance kind of stuff. The bass and keyboard and drums, they don't change. Well, the drums do. The drums have a lot of variety. They don't know how to do the same idea twice. Um, but the harmonic sections, there's not much change into them. They do the same thing for the full 2 minute little interlude here. But our two woodwind instruments sound beautiful in this moment. There's a really nice story being told. It's very patient. It takes its time telling it. It is just a gorgeous section of the track. And honestly, I could listen to a whole song of just this. Give me this really chill, mellow, I think I called it underwater feeling. And then give me the saxophone and the flute just doing a duet together. These beautiful dyads with different rhythms. I thought that was the cool thing too. The sax and the flute had their own lines, but they tended to hold on specific beats, in which we'd get these long, lengthy dyads between the two of them, and we really get to hear some of these key notes, and between them, they're both moving in totally different sections before lining back up for these held out notes, and it's just a gorgeous moment. I find it interesting that it is such a almost serene component to the track, sandwiched in the middle of two heavy blackened sections. The first one was the more straightforward one, and the second one had the shrill shrieks in it. Um, I don't know what to make of it, or honestly anything in this track. It embodies a lot of stuff. There is the chaotic, anxiety-driven stuff in the beginning, in our first 4 to 6 minutes with all the metal stuff. The middle is soothing, serene. We go back to desperation, and then we finish it off with, once again, a type of serenity. It's just a very calming, soothing idea. The song has highs and lows that I can't really make much of combining them together. At best, it's the journey someone makes while doing something. Yeah, that's like super vague. That works for most tracks. Yeah, this song is about a journey that someone is on. Stuff happens. Perfect read of the song. Nailed it. And since I don't really know what's going on, I get a feel for each section, but I don't have an overarching concept of it. I figure we should hit some lyrics, see what story they're telling there, and if we can adapt any of it to some of the musical storytelling going on. There are not a lot of lyrics here given the length of the song, but I guess we did have a pretty lengthy instrumental break in the middle. I'm going to read through some of this because I don't have a strong grasp of it. We'll see if anybody else pulls something out of this. It says, product of purge and rapture, questioning matters of fate, burgeoning youth stumble, grow humble but mighty. Vestiges linger, dying beneath the skin, only survivors exult a falling sky. And so this leads me to a concept of apocalypse, uh, post modern day, something that's, it says only survivors exalt a falling sky. So something happened that has caused a lot of death. There are still vestiges that linger, signs of the old days. It also talks about a purge and rapture, that the current day is a product of that, or that the current people are a product of that. They question fate. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Something happened, and we're now in a post societal concept of living. But past this general idea, I'm not quite sure I understand the themes at play here. It says, anxiously forging ahead, we wonder, in this state, are we the whole, or am I? These cell walls ignite and perform, draw life in to stimulate growth. Time runs thin neath ripples and roil. I grow stronger. The end of the track is a repetition of raise eyes to the morning. Ascend in morning, the sadness kind of morning. Raise eyes to morning, new era dawning. So we look up to a new era, a new sun coming up, and we become better than who we were through the sadness of our past. Again, I'm not quite sure, and it's called Within Chanting Waters, and I did liken the middle to like being beneath the surface of the water and just the serenity of that sort of experience. But I can't connect any of these disparate parts that I'm seeing. I don't know where all of it collides. I barely have a grasp on what the lyrics or the music are doing, much less am I going to understand how they work within one another. So, this is where y'all come in. Those are my thoughts on Dreadnoughts Within Chanting Waters. What did you think? What's your opinion? What's your perspective? Do you have an angle on how any of this works or a new interpretation of it? Unfortunately, there's no annotations on Genius or Sonic Hits, so I'm kind of running blind on this one. I'm barely grasping at basic concepts, much less anything more complex. Let me know if you see anything in this. Above the comment section is a description box, and there's a link for Linktree. It takes you here. You can find my music, ways to support the channel, link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three. That wraps it up for today, but we'll be back tomorrow. We will continue on with Critical Acclaim Week, looking at songs from widely praised albums, and we'll also have a special selection to look at. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.